Welcome to Fake Presidents, a real podcast about, well, you know.
Each episode, we will take a deep dive into a fictional American president from pop culture to see just how much fiction there really is.
We're two former political junkies who do like talking about politics. We just don't like talking about actual real-life politics.
Because it's just too damn depressing. I'm Eric Buckman, a former political consultant turned TV writer.
And I'm Ben Oren, a former journalist, sometimes speechwriter, and all-the-time TV producer.
And today, we've got not one, but two fake presidents. Today is the day for Zero Day! Woo, 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 woo!
Today is your zero day. Oh no, today is our zero day. Remember when they said that, when he gave that big rousing speech?
I gotta say, I love the way De Niro gives speeches in this series. Because he drops out of De Niro actor mode and actually does what real politicians do when they give speeches. Reading
it off the teleprompter.
Yeah.
He loves speech day.
Yeah.
For De Niro, he must have it in his contract. He's like, I need at least 3 to 5 speeches on teleprompters because I'm a method actor. I'm not even going to read those pages in the script. Put them on the prompter. Fuck it. We'll do it live.
When his character is supposed to be reading a teleprompter, whether he is really reading or just acting like he's reading, it does feel like he is channeling an actual person behind a podium looking at teleprompters. Like a lot of actors play fake president, they get the big speech, and they go into actor monologue mode like they're auditioning for a part as president. No, he goes into candidate mode as if he's just trying to win someone's vote. And I like that. I like the fact that he does flip that switch to be a little more stilted during his speeches. But anyway, yes, Robert De Niro, he's playing President Mullen, not Mueller.
Not Mueller. That's what else I wrote. George Mullen, not Mueller.
He's doing a very different kind of investigation. Mullen. But we also...
Not Mueller.
We also have a second president played by Angela Bassett.
President Evelyn Mitchell.
Yeah, President Mitchell. And okay, first pet peeve. I got to get this out of the way. Who gave notes on the scripts? Because too many of the names are the same. You can't have too many M's. There's an Alex and a Russian agent named Alexei. You've got the Jesse Plemons character is named Roger Carlson.
Yep.
But what is the name of De Niro's right-hand person on the Zero Day Commission? Carl. So you get Carl and Carlson. It's like, do a pass just to clarify the names. What's going on?
Well, you know, the show, Zero Day, is created by David Newman from Narcos and from Randy.
Yes.
There's no show called Randy, but his father is Randy Newman.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Wow, does this guy really hate short people as much as Randy Newman does?
I would have loved if his dad would have done the music for this, and that would have been great. We got a Zero Day song. Zero Day. It's one of those days. Zero Day. I worked on a show once where we knew that our showrunner, that if we wrote any sketch that had a song in it, he would do it. Especially if you were like, there's a song in the style of this and the boss can sing it. The boss would always be like, yes, write that sketch so I could sing the song.
Oh.
And so that was our way in. That was our way in. You got to know what the boss wants. Not what the audience wants, what your boss wants.
No, it's like on SNL, how every cast has that one cast member that everyone kind of writes to because they know that gives them the greatest chance of getting their sketch on the air.
Yeah. So I wrote a sketch about the character. It's a one-person sketch show pretty much. And he was having a bad nose hair day. He wakes up and his nose hairs are like, have a mind of their own.
Okay.
And so I wrote a song called Nose Hairs that goes no in the style of Randy Newman. And it's like, nose hairs hang from your nose. Nose hairs hang from your nose. Da 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 da.
That's a good
nose
Newman.
Hairs hang from your nose. And my boss is like, yes, we're gonna write that song. Anyway.
He's not the only creator of the series.
No, we have Noah Oppenheim, who is the former head of NBC News.
Look, everyone I think has a right to create fiction. I hate it when actual journalists decide to put their hands in the fake news world.
Oh, yeah. Well, then we have the other journalist, Michael Schmidt, lifelong DC journalist. You know, he's been in the game for 20 plus years, broke the Hillary Clinton server story. He is why we say but her emails.
Way to go, dude.
Way to go.
This series spends so much time wallowing in the world of centrism in the both sides of it all.
It's crazy. It's crazy that they're like, we're just going to cut to the end here. Spoiler alert. Brr, 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 brr. The bad guys in this world are the centrists.
Yes. But, okay, I was dreading doing this series because it comes out with a thud. Like, I'm sure that Netflix algorithm got a lot of clicks to it for people who didn't read reviews, but all the reviews to a T out the gate were thumbs down. It's boring. And all they highlight is the fact that every character for the first 5 episodes, all they can do is decry what's going on with both sides. Every character is presenting themselves as a centrist, even the ostensible heroes. Only for, in the last episode, the twist that I love, by the way, because I was not expecting it based on how the first 5 episodes went. The bad guys ultimately are the centrists.
The bad guys are the Democrats and the Republicans who want to work together to pass legislation. Those are the bad guys.
Whether or not in real life you think they're the bad guys or not, that is not for us to say. That is not what this podcast is about. I just thought that was a genuine twist. The fact that Matthew Modine,
who plays the Speaker of the House, the Republican Speaker of the House.
Well, we'll get into the party of it all in a bit, because that's what thing that pissed me off for the first 5 episodes. I thought he was the same party as the president for the first 5 episodes, because that's how wishy-washy all the politics were at play. Even Evan Green, the Dan Stevens does the live podcaster.
Yeah. Alex Jones.
Broadcasting from his basement, but he's also a little young Turk-ish. Like, just when you think you've nailed down who he's a model of, he will throw in some progressive thing that he's for. And like, wait a second, what's going on there? So he's a neo-Nazi who's also for labor rights? Okay, yeah. But all the reviews were hammering it for basically being a New York Times column from 2016 brought to life. No, it winds up going places that I was truly unexpected by. Matthew Modine, Speaker of the House, he winds up flat out saying in the last episode that the whole plan here was to shut down the divisive voices of the extremes on both sides.
With half the country caught up in a fever dream of lies and conspiracy, the other half shouting about pronouns.
So he's basically going through and talking about how the plan here, the 0-day plan, was to silence them, to get everyone to corral around, I call a mythical center, which I don't know if really even exists in politics, but the so-called belief that there is such a thing as centrism and a moderate center column for which the country should gravitate back towards. And that's their plan.
Yeah.
But we've gotten way ahead of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Who's in this, Ben?
Who's in this? Well, like we said, we have Robert De Niro as former president, George Mullen. We have Angela Bassett as current president, Evelyn Mitchell. We have, oh my goodness, look who's back. Joan Allen.
Yeah.
As former First Lady Sheila Mullen, who's also a judge, who's up for a federal judgeship. We have, as George and Sheila's daughter, Alexandra Mullen, is Lizzy Caplan.
Yeah, not Kristen Milioti.
What?
I thought it was Kristen Milioti the first time she popped up on screen.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think they're almost melding into very similar.
You think so?
Personas.
I think Miss Caplan always gives a wonderful Jewess vibe to everything she brings to the table.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of Miss Lizzy, Mean Girls. She was great. Did you watch Fleischman is in Trouble?
I did not see Fleischman is in Trouble, but I can't let your U.S. comment go without then asking, oh, so you bought her as the child of Robert De Niro and Joan Allen.
New York. You know, whatever. She's a New Yorker. Once you're from New York, you could pass for Jewish, Italian, or Irish.
Yes.
if you have the right complexion.
Yeah, she's also a political figure too.
Yes, Congresswoman representing New York. Maybe she's not. At first, you thought she might be like an AOC stand-in, but now once you find out that she is also part of this conspiracy, you find out that she is a more centrist Democrat.
We also have Bill Camp as a CIA director. Lash.
Yes.
I like Bill Camp. He's got a great deep voice. Good voiceover guy.
He enters a room the way I would imagine Hitchcock enters a room. It's all like belly. It's all like belly first.
Yeah. Did you mention Connie Britton?
Oh, let's mention Connie Britton. Yes, she plays the former chief of staff to George Mullen. Not only she was in charge of other things of his staff as well.
Yes,
if you know what I mean.
I would say Dartmouth College's own Connie Britton.
Yes, and also Friday Night Lights' own Connie Britton. You know who was also in Friday Night Lights? Eric? Jesse Plemons.
Jesse Plemons, we mentioned. She was also on Spin City, Connie Britton, just to go back to Connie for a second. Yeah, political show.
Yes.
with Michael J. Fox.
And was she only in the Michael J. Fox version? Was she there when Charlie joined?
No, she was gone by then.
Charlie Sheen.
Comes in the role, which proves to Hollywood that he's still a bankable sitcom star.
That you could trust him. That you could trust him to lead a sitcom.
Motherfucker, I'm not asking if you're interested. I'm the president of the United fucking States, man.
Let's go ahead and just get what the series is about. Ben, what's a zero-day attack?
Well, the zero-day attack was a massive cyber attack that took all of the electronics in America out for 1 minute. So this wasn't just like your phones went out. It was like subway systems went down. Everything that was tracking airlines went down. Everything in hospitals went down. That was for 1 full minute. And everybody got a mysterious message on their phone following it, being like, watch out, buddies.
Yes.
There's more of this to come. We're not going to tell you when, but we could do it again. But that message was much shorter than that.
Yeah.
Anyway, the U.S. government wants to get to the bottom of it, so they set up a zero-day commission, which is approved by Congress, signed on by the president, to find out who are the persons, peoples, groups responsible for this. And because there's so much distrust for the government, President Evelyn Mitchell wants to bring somebody on to head the commission who is like the last person in America everybody-ish seems to trust. And that is former President George Mullen, not Robert Mueller, George Mullen, Robert De Niro, to find out what went down.
And they pick him because he is the last president to muster bipartisan support.
And he did it in a very short time frame because he was a one-term president by choice.
By choice and publicly, the reason why he chose not to run for re-election is so that he could grieve with his family the loss of his son, who dies of a drug overdose. Or maybe suicide, as daughter Alex believes. But to Joan and Bobby De Niro, their son OD'd. When we first meet him, he's actually meeting with a ghostwriter because he's having trouble finishing his book. And that's when the zero-day attack happens.
He's very late in delivering his memoir, despite the fact that he has notebooks upon notebooks upon notebooks in his study up in Hudson, beautiful Hudson, New York. It's not a TV review podcast, everybody, but as much as I dislike the show, man, I love that house. That house in upstate New York, about an hour and a half outside of the city, and gorgeous.
What else do we know about this guy? We see him in a Fordham sweatshirt.
He's a New York guy.
His wife is up for a major appellate judgeship. We know he didn't run for re-election. We know that he was Time Man of the Year and that the quote on the cover said, "The man who would shape tomorrow." We know he was a prosecutor, and we found out later before he was a prosecutor, he was in Army intelligence in Vietnam. Also, he's very good at reading upside down, calls that one of the secret superpowers that you need to further in politics. The other superpower is invisibility. You need to master the art of invisibility. I wrote that in my notes. I totally forget now how that plays into anything or how that could even be true.
Well, he takes pills. He takes Lipitor. He takes something called a Synthroid, which is for thyroid glands and cancer.
Yeah, don't forget the Zycam. He's got Zycam in that medicine cabinet too.
Zycam. Got to be ready in case cold comes on. He swims in his beautiful pool that's looking along the Hudson River. He likes to walk and jog with his dog.
We know that his daughter is specifically worried about fascism. And that's one of her concerns of maybe not wanting to vote for her own dad to head this commission because she thinks the commission has been given too much power.
Well, how much is too much power? What can this commission really do, Eric?
They can rendition any U.S. citizen on U.S. soil without the need for a warrant. And technically, they've been given the go-ahead to use enhanced interrogation tactics.
Isn't everything better when it's enhanced?
We also know that by the end of the first episode, he's losing time. Losing time
or losing his mind?
Well, throughout the episode, we're seeing it from his point of view. And so he keeps talking to his, what would you call it? House man? The guy about the house who does.
I'm going to tell you something, Eric. When he first comes into the kitchen, he had just come back from a jog, and there's a very well-kept man, like bald man with a beard, making him breakfast. I'm like, oh, is this his lover? Did they go down this route? Because I don't know. There's like a vibe between them.
Well, there's a vibe, and also there's definitely a non-sexy vibe between him and his wife. They sleep in different beds. We get that pretty quickly too, which turns out.
But out of respect for each other, they still sleep on their own side of the bet.
Yes. We think he's losing his mind because the guy who was there greeting him, making him breakfast at the beginning of the episode isn't there at the end of the episode. Instead, there's a guy there who it turns out has been working for him for 5 years, and he just totally forgot who this person was in the moment.
Yeah.
He keeps hearing the Sex Pistols songs, Who Killed Bambi, in his head over and over again. And there's certain words like Proteus that he's made notes of that are floating through his head. He doesn't know what they mean. And at one point, after the ghostwriter dies in a car accident triggered by the 0 day, a car train accident, triggered by the 0 day attack, he sees her and thinks he sees her in a crowd and goes off on a tangent. Literally a tangent for the series because it goes nowhere.
Yeah, it goes nowhere. We're thinking that does Mullen, is he have dementia? Does he have Alzheimer's?
Is it the medicine he's taking? Is it mind control? Is he a Manchurian candidate? We do know also in episode 2, we see him at the beginning of the episode as he needs to go through his journals and try to gather his thoughts. He has a mind palace. He's like Sherlock Holmes, and that when he has to envision the clues before him or look back at his past.
At least only in that episode. Right,
we
they don't
see,
bring that back.
No, we see it in other
They bring it
places.
back?
No, what they do in other episodes is he'll be in his office and slowly like props will disappear. Scenery will minimize. And you'll see that he's tuning out what's around him. And then certain things will pop back in as he needs to focus on them. So his mind palace is his office, which of course saves money on sets. But it still is a mind palace nonetheless that allows him to explore his own mind in a 3D space, which is kind of interesting.
We also find out in these episodes he has some nicknames from the Secret Service. His Secret Service name is Legend.
Oh.
And people who don't like him, people on the streets are calling him King George.
Oh, well, they start to call him that after he gets headed to the commission.
Yes.
Yeah. Because before that, apparently everyone seems to kind of like the guy, or at least view him as a almost Jimmy Carter-esque figure who is not worthy of derision because he's trying to help build houses or something.
It's almost like going back to not our first episode, but going back to American President. It's okay for everybody to feel for him when he's like grieving a child, right? So he goes out on his own terms. And you're like, well, you can't hate a guy for that, can you?
Yeah.
But then when he takes over the commission, it's like, oh, you could hate a guy for that, definitely.
You can hate a guy for locking up 17-year-olds without a warrant.
It was an oopsie.
When the series begins, he's this super well-liked retired president who everyone seems to appreciate the fact that he only wanted one term, and they feel bad for it because what happened to his son. And by the last episode, they're yelling, lock him up and fuck George Mullen.
And they're willing to like pull him out of a car and possibly beat him to death.
Yes.
But the center's the problem, Eric.
Yeah.
The center.
But we do get our first Wolf Blitzer sighting in a fake president series in a while. A lot of fake news
There
people.
are a lot of real news people.
A lot of real news people working for both real and fake news networks.
Yeah.
How should we go about the rest of this?
For everybody listening, I think the reason why we're like, how do we proceed, is because this show, the series, throws everything at you. Like, it's not like just ripped from the headlines. It's like ripped every headline out.
Yeah.
And put it in a blender and then drank it. And then they stuck their fingers in their collective mouths and just vomited it out onto the page. And then they were like, you have to use a computer program. They're like, okay, we have more. And they stuck their fingers into each other's mouths and vomited onto their computers. And as the vomit hit the keys, 6 episodes of this series came to be.
My name is Andrew Shepard, and I am the president.
We know that he kept in touch with old members of the intelligence community to help him out. I think one of them was a Mossad agent.
Mossad. I mean, for a second, I thought that this could just be a figment of his imagination.
Until Plemons says, oh, I talked to that guy too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I talked to Nathan too.
Okay, great. Well, we do know that the Jesse Plemons character has been with him for a while. Everyone hates Jesse Plemons' character. The press hates him. Other staffers hate him.
Yeah, Jesse Plemons is doing a very good Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah.
In this series.
It's definitely a change from when we've last seen him in like Civil War.
Yeah. He's a former addict. I think probably he was friends with his son.
Well, they play up the fact that the reason why De Niro, I'm just going to call him De Niro, not Mullen, because I know if I keep calling him Mullen, I'm going to start calling him Mueller, and that's going to be confusing. Okay. So De Niro likes this guy because he's good at his job, I guess, like as an assistant /
a fixer, connector.
Yeah, but also he is sympathetic to him because his son had a drug problem and he wants to help this guy who's in recovery get his life back too, which makes his ending all the more tragic in this series. So he does see him as a son figure, a stand-in for his son, who's also sleeping with his daughter. It's weird when it's like the father likes you because he sees you as a son, but the daughter likes you because she sees you as something she can wrap her legs around. Mm-hmm. So,
well, fuck, buddy.
It's another place where De Niro and his daughter do not see eye to eye.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no one likes the Jesse Plemons character. But that said, even though no one likes Connie Britton, it's not the president's choice to install her as a chief of staff to him on the commission, even though the wife knows he had an affair and probably maybe even knows about the daughter. Actually, does not know about the daughter, but does know about
but the moment they say daughter, you're like, oh.
Yeah. It's actually the wife who insists, Joan Allen, who insists that he hire Connie Britton because, true, he slept with you, but he also listens to you. She's like the only person who can rein him in.
Yeah. But the truth is they could have cut out that character entirely. It didn't make a difference.
Yeah. To me, there's a much better 2-hour movie in here by cutting out a fair amount. Anything else that we learn about this guy over the course of these 6 episodes before we start to analyze him?
Speaking of Connie Britton, once he finds out that the daughter is his, he wants to be a good guy and meet her. I mean, he must suspect it. Everybody must suspect. I mean, you just do the math. They were like chief of staff 13 years ago.
Yeah.
There's a daughter 9 months after they had sex. But I'm kind of imagining, it's always funny to me, like De Niro having a kid, because I wanted the kid to be kind of like De Niro-ish.
Oh, yeah.
Where like De Niro like sits down and he's like, I heard you're my kid. Hey, come over here. Sit next to me.
Yeah.
And the little girl's like, I heard things. That's what I would have done if I was on staff. I would have pitched the daughter to have done like a hard De Niro impersonation for when they meet.
He's working as a taxi driver. No, it's like when we found the tabloids, like 10 years ago, were all over
Schwarzenegger's kid.
Schwarzenegger's son with the housekeeper. Yeah. And so what you wind up with is you see pictures of him, and it really is like a Latin Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Looks more like Schwarzenegger than Patrick Schwarzenegger looks like Schwarzenegger.
Yeah. That's what you wanted, Ben. That's a good way to read it.
That's what I wanted.
Okay.
They could have done it even after the fact. They use a little AI, use a little CGI.
Right. So basically, the way this guy runs a commission, he comes in very level-headed. Yes, he's got the authority to arrest a bunch of people without warrants. He's not going to use that authority. He wants to get warrants.
He wants to do it the right way.
By the end of that first episode, he's already like hard torturing the first person.
Look, doing it the right way takes time. They don't have the time.
Yeah. He tortures the Dan Stevens character. Not even waterboarding. It's just like plastic bagging.
Is it torture or is it an enhanced interrogation?
I think it's called closing off someone's air supply with a plastic bag until they can't breathe and are nearly dead.
And then, but nearly dead. Nearly dead. Aren't we all nearly dead, Eric?
So throughout these first 5 episodes, we find out 3,402 people died on 0 Day. 0 Day itself is a reference to the fact that, okay, so in tech circles, a 0 Day hack just means there's an exploit on an operating system that hasn't been patched yet. So like when you get a new Apple release or a new Android release or a new Windows release, there are people who cull through every line of code they can get their hands on, trying to find an unpatched vulnerability that can be used to implant malware before Apple or Microsoft or Google can find it and patch it. And that's why it's called a 0 Day hack, because it's there on day 0 of release of that software.
Okay.
And so basically all they're saying here is that someone found enough 0 Day vulnerabilities, enough softwares to create a malware that is not just on every smartphone, computer, air traffic control device, every computer system in the country, but is still there even after the events of 0 Day because they can activate it again and no one knows where it is.
Yeah.
I've heard what journalists think about this. I've heard what TV critics think about this. I want to hear what the hackers think about this series.
So hackers, if you're listening, email us at fakepresidents.
Yes.
at Gmail.
This is a presidential favor.
He first get some clues that it's these people called the Reapers who are hackers. It turns out that and the Reapers are and the Hacker Collective, they're connected to the Dan Stevens character. They're all like followers of his. The head hacker was a college roommate of him.
They're fans of his podcast. It's not even a podcast. I don't even know what it is. It's a YouTube channel.
Meanwhile, there's a discovery, like Connie Britton seems to be good friends with the head of the CIA because she knows that there exists a CIA program to use some sort of remote technology to trigger mental attacks in other people. The way they describe...
Yes, to inflict traumatic brain injury from a distance with surgical precision and have it be untraceable.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to what was allegedly happening in Guantanamo Bay.
Havana syndrome.
The Havana syndrome, which unfortunately mostly hasn't panned out. Like, I feel like the latest data on there is that the vast majority of the people were suffering from things that were unconnected to each other or unconnected to anything else. And in fact,
I mean, it was severe. It was headaches, dizziness, blurred vision, tinnitus, vertigo.
Yeah, the problem is those are all very common, symptoms for any number of conditions.
Diarrhea.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that. That would be funny if Proteus, they can inflict diarrhea from any distance.
Look, they're like, you know what is the biggest killer of people across the globe? Diarrhea.
Yes.
It's
diarrhea.
true.
Well, diarrhea.
Which is true.
Yeah,
Which
from
is
like
true.
Illness-born mosquitoes.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just jump to the end, Ben.
Okay.
We
don't know. We don't know whether this Proteus thing is even like real.
They never tell us.
They never tell us.
The last revelation there is about what's going on with him, like the whole thing with the song. Yeah, the reason why he keeps hearing the Sex Pistols song is because that's the song that was playing in his son's room when he discovered his son's body after ODing.
It is trauma.
So the three explanations are 1, dementia, 2, PTSD, 3, mind control or some sort of,
mind melting device.
Mind melting device.
I mean, because with Proteus, they say that it mimics dementia, psychosis, sleep deprivation, causes emotional swings, causes you to be impulsive, gives you hallucinations, and there's memory gaps.
Yeah. So throughout all that, he winds up helping to uncover what's really going on.
Well, actually, to take a step back to talk about them pulling everything from the headlines.
Oh, yeah.
De Niro's wife, Joan Allen, is worried that there's something wrong with him, and she's going to go to the press if he doesn't take some sort of test to prove that he's of sound mind. So he takes the fucking Donald Trump word test.
Yeah, they do give him a cognitive skills test.
Say these words. What music's playing? They did the old trick on him. What song am I playing right now? There was no music playing. There was no music playing right then.
So what's really going on is Gabby Hoffman playing a Mark Zuckerberg type billionaire.
Elon Musk, yeah.
More, but they never mention anything physical. Like, it's all software what she does. It's a social network. It's operating systems. It's stuff that it's like definitely more in the Zuckerberg mold.
But it's somebody who wants to be involved with the government in a high way and is very hurt when
but
she
not
isn't.
Explicitly. Like she, But anyway,
why are you such an Elon Musk apologist, Eric? Is it because of the 3 Teslas you own?
I only own one, and I'm trying to sell it. I wanted to sell it while the value still exists. It's one of those things where at this point, everyone's like, "Get rid of your car." Well, it's worthless. Like, I'm at least waiting for something like.
Well, are you going to get rid of the Neuralink you have?
In my head.
Yes.
What were we watching?
You were so proud of it, Eric. You were so proud of the Neuralink when you got it. And now, look at you now.
Look, Ben, I'm a big fan of Severance. I saw a chance. When I do this podcast with you, I have that's the reason why I have so few tangents on this show, folks.
Yeah.
We've been severed. We don't know.
We're innings right now? This is our innie life?
Get off my plane.
So basically what he discovers, he has the wherewithal to at least figure out that Gabby Hoffman, who's a Mark Zuckerberg-type billionaire, is in league with an Epstein-type financier played by Clark Gregg, and also a number of people in Congress to trigger this zero-day attack in order to create a threat big enough for people to want to run back to the center aisle for help and support in the government and to stop listening to the more extreme voices that they are going to blame for this happening in the first place. And part of their plan, though, was to install Matthew Modine as the head of the commission. But President Mitchell, who all we really know is that she's probably the same party as Mullen, and she went to Stanford. She wore a Stanford sweatshirt.
She went to Stanford, yes.
Turns out she had a feeling that the government was involved in this. And that's why she picked Mullen specifically, because he was the only person that she could trust, that she did not believe that he was one of the conspirators. That's it. Okay, usually we'll say, what does this say about 2025 first? I think we should talk about the president's legacy first and him, and then we'll close on what this says about 2025.
Sure.
Okay, Ben, what do you think of this guy?
What I think, I like President De Niro. I think he's a Democrat from New York. I don't know whether he was I think he was a governor. He gives like a little bit of Cuomo vibes.
Yeah.
Like, what if Cuomo would have run, and what if Cuomo was able to get rid of his problematic children a little earlier?
Yeah.
I think he came out of his first presidency on top. He was seen as a uniter, but I think it's been 13 years since he was president. That means that there was a president between him and at least one, if not two presidents between him and President Mitchell. Everything has fallen apart pretty quickly as he receded from the spotlight. So I think people were wanting for him to come out. I think that wanting him to reemerge, I think that's the reason why all presidents get a book deal, but I think his book probably would have done very well because he had a lot of questions needed to be answered about why he left office and his emotional state and all of that. I think coming out of zero day, I still think people are going to think pretty high of him, but at the same time, the fringes on the right and the left are still going to believe that the conspiracy, that they didn't get all the answers that they wanted, that the conspiracy runs deeper, and that De Niro knows more than what he's telling them, regardless of whether he's telling them everything or not.
He definitely left office with a very high approval rating because no one had to feel like they had to vote for him in any way whatsoever anymore. He was no longer a candidate. He took to politics out of being a politician by just being in the government. And so I think that probably helped solidify his legacy there as a one-termer who left on a high note, who was a good president at finding consensus president who could legislate and get things passed. So you probably saw some jobs bills and some infrastructure bills.
Yeah, he was like, look at me.
Yeah.
Look at me, you motherfucker. You're going to sit down. You're going to vote for that. That was my De Niro.
And politically, he and Mitchell, I think, are probably share 90% of their ideologies.
90%. I mean, President Mitchell is a little faster on the trigger. I think she's got an itchier trigger finger. She was ready to go after Russia when signs were pointing that Russia was behind the zero-day attacks.
Yes.
She was willing to attack their oil refineries to let them know that she means business and that the U.S. means business. So she's not afraid to use America's armed forces.
The one big difference between them comes at the end. Once everyone knows exactly what's going on, I'll say everyone, I mean, once De Niro and Bassett both know what's going on, she's the one who encourages him. You can go public with Gabby Hoffman and the financier and all the non-governmental figures involved in this conspiracy. Leave Congress out of it because that's a mess that we don't want to wade into.
And besides, your daughter's part of Congress, and you love her, don't you?
Well, that's just it.
And then he was like, "What's love got to do with it?"
I see what you did there, Ben. That was a Angela Bassett movie.
It was an Angela Bassett joke.
So some might say that De Niro in this movie was given an impossible mission.
I would say De Niro, though, he's a pretty good fella.
I would, yeah. I think he might be a bad grandpa, though. Was he in that movie? That was a thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Was he bad grandfather? Wait, was he or was bad grandpa? What was the one where Johnny Knoxville was dressed up as the grandfather?
You're right. That might be bad grandpa. But he was in one of those movies, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was in one of those. Yeah.
Okay. They differ on that. And so he prepares a speech he's going to give to a joint session of Congress in which he's going to close the investigation and out the guilty parties, but not the Congress members. And Modine's like, good choice for not outing me. And then what happens is he gets a letter from his daughter where his daughter says, we don't know what the letter says until he reads it to Congress, but it basically says, Dad, don't try to protect me. I need to own up for what I did. And so he goes the other way, gives a speech, outs everybody, even the Congress people, but does it in a way that further empowers the president. It's like she's the one you can trust to clean this up. So we see her kind of smile, even though she didn't want him to do it. She's like smiling at the end when he gives a speech, because he tees her up. And so he finds a way to make everybody happy except for the people who we all hate as an audience. So the end. Giving him high approval numbers both back then and now, probably a little less now.
But do you think Mitchell gets reelected? We know she's a first termer. We know that Dreyer was thinking about running for president against her. Do you think she gets reelected?
I think she has a good shot, but I think if ever there's an election for a third party candidate to win, this is probably it. Because enough Democrats and Republicans both are caught up in this that if you're any other party, now is your time to strike.
How dare you come into this office and bark at me like some little junkyard dog? I am the President of the United States.
2025. It says everything.
It says everything. Other things pulled from the headlines. Full-on Epstein stuff. Both from the financier, from Clark Gregg's character, and also the way Gabby Hoffman's character is offed while in prison. We have deep fakes. There's deep fakes involved in this. Havana syndrome. Anything that they could pull, they pulled.
Everyone stands in for a real life person of some kind, and in some cases, multiple people together. Like, I think there's two different Epsteins in this.
There's two Epsteins. We got Joan Allen is a Hillary. You know, De Niro is Clinton and Carter and George Mueller. Like,
one curve that this thing threw. We've covered a lot of movies and TV shows that we've called Sorkin-esque, maybe Clancy-esque.
At least two.
This is our first that we can call Rod Lurie-esque. And for anyone who doesn't know who that is, watch our Contender episode. He wrote and directed that movie. But like, this one is kind of the politics of that movie, even right on down to getting Joan Allen back in front of Congress, having to...
I mean, if anything's Lurie-esque, it's Joan Allen.
There is something very Lurie-esque about this whole thing. And for more on that, go check out our Contender episode. Especially if you love seeing Joan Allen talk back to feisty Republicans with an agenda on a commission to assess her ability to be promoted to a higher office.
Yeah.
I've been Eric Buckman.
I've been Ben Oren. This has been Fake Presidents.
Yeah, artwork by Ann Hecker.
Music by Johnny Sadoff. You could find us on all the socials. We're on Instagram. We're on Blue Skies. It's some combination of fake and presidents, typically meaning always the fake comes first. Sometimes it's fake _ presidents. Typically it is fake _ presidents. If you want to write to us, write us a note, a letter, just a hey, how you doing? What's up? You can do that via our email address, fakepresidents@gmail.com. You should subscribe to us. You should rate us. That's helpful.
Okay, and the last thing I'm going to say is I promised at the end of the Paradise episode all my theories on why we're getting so many fake presidents now. We did not get to that, so tune in to our next episode.
What a cliffhanger! Eric, you're doing it again!
For my theory.
Back-to-back cliffhangers!
I have a very... I know what's going on, Ben. I'm going to rip this whole thing wide open. I'm going to tell the people what they need to hear about why all the fake presidents now.
Oh my God, Eric, you're so good at this.
Okay. See y'all
Bye.
next. Bye.
Eric, you know what really caught my eye in this episode?
What?
On 0 day +1, or maybe 0 day +2 or +3. That's how we knew the passage of time.
Only like 3 weeks passes in this episode.
Yeah.
It's weird.
The day that they set up the 0 day commission, once they moved into their offices, they had a sign made up for it. With a crest. Out of everything that's going on in the world, 3,000 people are dead. We don't know whether the Russians did it. We don't know whether it was a white nationalist group. We don't know who turned off the electricity for 1 minute. But there was a line in the budget when they came up with the 0 day commission. They had this many people to work on computers. We need this many chairs. And you know what? Let's have a line for one large fucking sign that says 0 day commission. It was government waste at its worst.
Yeah, it's almost as if they knew it was coming. They had a logo, they had an emblem, they had a motto, they had wallpapers on their phones. Okay,
I would have loved for them to have been one scene where like the design company they get the call. They're like, what? We have how much time?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get it done. Everybody,
Ben, we have how many days?
You have 0 day +2 days.